All right, so we're back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
And this time I think we're going to tackle something that I know a lot of our listeners struggle with.
Oh, sure.
And something I personally struggle with as well. And that's morning motivation.
Yeah.
You know how to get yourself going when it's especially tough.
Especially when it's dark out.
Especially when it's dark out, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, we asked our listeners for some of their best tips.
Mm-hmm.
We got a whole bunch of them.
Yes, we did.
And so what we're going to try to do today is really dig into what makes them effective.
Yeah.
So, you know, we can all sort of kickstart our days with more energy and focus.
I love it.
So,
Let's dive in.
yeah, let's jump right in.
Okay.
The first tip that we got from our listeners was all about exercise.
Yeah.
And this is something that we all know is good for us, but the source that we got really pinpointed why it can be a game changer, specifically in the morning. And it mentions this release of dopamine and serotonin.
Okay.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how those two things can really contribute to that morning mojo that we're all after?
So dopamine and serotonin, as you know, are neurochemicals that are related to mood, and they directly impact your brain's reward system. Dopamine is that pleasure chemical.
Right.
It also is a huge driver in motivation and focus.
Oh, interesting.
So it's like this reward signal that you can give your brain first thing in the morning.
Oh, wow.
And that can actually create momentum and make you more likely to engage in other productive activities.
So you're sort of setting yourself up for success in a way.
Exactly. And serotonin, on the other hand, plays a crucial role in stabilizing your mood.
Right.
So by exercising first thing in the morning, you're getting a dose of these feel-good chemicals and setting a more positive and alert tone for the day.
That makes sense.
It's also been linked to long-term memory improvement.
Really?
Which is a fantastic added benefit.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
And the source that we got even gave a shout out to running
Oh, nice.
as a really effective way to do that.
Yeah.
And it even referenced this blog with some winter running tips.
Okay.
So even when it's cold and dark outside,
Right.
there are ways to get that physical activity in.
Exactly. And reap the benefit.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
All right, so moving on to tip number 2.
All right.
This is one that I am definitely guilty of.
Okay.
Don't snooze.
Oh.
Hit that snooze button
It's so tempting.
way more times than I care to admit.
Yeah.
Why does that backfire on us?
Well, it all comes down to our sleep cycles.
Okay.
When you hit the snooze button, you're basically fragmenting what little sleep you have left. You go back into a light sleep,
Yeah.
but you don't give your body enough time to complete a full sleep cycle.
Right.
So when that alarm goes off again, you end up feeling groggier and more disoriented than if you had just gotten up
Oh, that makes sense.
when it first rang.
Yeah.
So it's this thing called sleep inertia,
Okay.
which is a temporary dip in alertness and cognitive performance that you
Yeah.
experience after waking up.
Yeah.
So the tip about placing your alarm across the room
Right.
might seem drastic,
Yeah.
but it's a great way to force yourself to get out of bed
Right.
and interrupt that snooze cycle.
Yeah.
You have to get up to turn it off.
You got to get out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the next tip sort of goes along with that,
Okay.
which is set an alarm sound that you actually enjoy.
Oh.
Because that jarring sound of radio static, whatever it is, can be such a rude awakening.
It really is a shock to the system.
It really is.
And it can really start your day off on the wrong foot.
Totally.
Yeah.
So the source suggested things like piano music or a favorite song or even like a podcast or something like that.
I love that idea.
What's the psychology behind why a pleasant sound can make such a difference?
It's all about how our brains process information when we first wake up.
Okay.
A pleasant sound creates a much gentler transition from sleep to wakefulness.
Okay.
It's less of a shock to your system.
Right.
So you avoid that immediate spike in stress hormones that you might get from a harsh buzzing noise.
Yeah.
By choosing a sound that you enjoy,
Right.
you're actually setting a more positive initial association with waking up and making it a slightly less unpleasant experience.
Yeah.
So it's a small shift, but it can really contribute to a better overall mood in those first few minutes.
That makes total sense.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So the next tip is something that I had never really consciously considered before.
Okay.
And that is to turn on the lights
Oh, yeah.
as soon as you wake up.
Interesting.
And the source mentions that the light receptors in our eyes are actually signaling to our brains that it's daytime.
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Absolutely. So our bodies have this internal 24-hour clock called the circadian rhythm, and light is one of its most powerful regulators.
Okay.
So you have these special light-sensitive cells in your eyes, and when they're exposed to light,
right,
they send a signal to a part of your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus.
Wow.
Which is basically your body's master clock.
Okay.
And that signal triggers all these hormonal changes, including the suppression of melatonin,
right,
which is the hormone that makes you sleepy.
Right.
So by turning on the lights when you wake up,
right,
you're giving your body a cue that it's daytime.
Okay.
And it's time to be awake and alert.
Wow, that's so interesting.
It's a simple way to kind of hack your biology.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to something that I think a lot of people can relate to.
All right.
What we choose to wear in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
So tip number 5 talks about getting dressed in something that makes you feel good.
Yes.
And having a wardrobe that you actually look forward to wearing.
Okay.
And it sounds kind of superficial.
I see what you mean.
But the source suggests that it can actually boost your confidence and motivation.
Absolutely.
So is there more to this than just liking your clothes?
So there's definitely a psychological component at play here.
Okay.
Our clothing can significantly influence our mood and how we perceive ourselves.
Okay.
When you feel comfortable and confident in what you're wearing,
right,
it can really positively impact your overall attitude and how ready you are to face the day's challenges.
Okay.
It's about setting an intention and practicing self-care right from the start.
Okay.
Think of it as a non-verbal cue to yourself.
Interesting.
That you're ready to take on the day.
Yeah, like putting on your game face.
Exactly.
Even if your game is just answering emails.
Even if it's just answering emails.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, the next tip is all about fueling up with a good breakfast.
Oh, this is a big one.
Big one, yeah.
Yeah.
The source really highlights the energy and concentration benefits and even warns about the irritability and lack of focus that can come when you skip it.
Yeah, definitely.
And it even specifically mentions citrus fruits as a way to get a really quick
interesting
energy boost.
Okay.
So what makes those so effective in the morning?
So after you sleep all night, your body's glucose levels are lower.
Okay.
A balanced breakfast is going to help replenish those stores.
Right.
Giving your brain and body the energy it needs to function. Skipping breakfast can lead to those fluctuations in blood sugar.
Right.
You get energy crashes, you can't concentrate.
Right.
Citrus fruits, like oranges and grapefruit, are a fantastic option.
Okay.
Because they have natural sugars.
Okay.
They also have vitamin C, which helps with energy production and can also improve your mood.
Okay.
So yeah, a little citrus in the morning can make a big difference.
I like it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the power of music.
All right.
Tip number 7 is all about that.
Love it.
And it reiterates that dopamine release that we talked about with exercise. But then it throws in this really fascinating fact about music improving something called endothelial function.
Interesting.
Of blood vessels.
Right.
And actually potentially reducing the risk of heart disease.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Which is kind of a surprising bonus.
Yeah, it really is.
From just listening to music.
It is remarkable how listening to music you enjoy can have these positive effects on your heart.
Yeah.
So endothelial function basically refers to the health of the lining of your blood vessels.
Okay.
And when that lining is healthy, it promotes good blood flow and helps prevent things like plaque buildup.
Okay.
The exact way this works is still being researched, but we think it's because those positive emotions and relaxation that you get from music can really influence your stress hormones and your blood flow in a positive way.
Wow.
So it's just a really cool example of how something enjoyable can actually have these unexpected health benefits.
It's amazing. Yep. So your morning playlist can actually be good for your heart.
It's pretty awesome.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, we're going to talk about hydration.
Okay.
Tip number 8 emphasizes how dehydrated we get overnight.
Yes.
And how drinking water first thing in the morning can really help combat that morning fatigue.
It's so important.
And the source gives this really practical suggestion of keeping a glass of water or a bottle of water by your bed.
Oh, yeah.
So it's right there when you wake up.
Makes it easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why is rehydration so crucial for our energy levels?
So even though you're not drinking while you're asleep, your body's still losing fluids. through breathing and sweating. So you wake up a little bit dehydrated.
Yeah.
And that can contribute to fatigue and sluggishness. Drinking water right when you wake up replenishes those fluids. It's super important for all those bodily functions like energy production, cognitive function.
Okay. Even your mood. Wow.
It's just a simple way to jumpstart your system and combat that grogginess.
It's a good reminder. I'm going to make sure that I do that.
Me too.
Okay, so tip number 9 is about creating a daily to-do list.
Classic.
A classic, yeah.
Yeah.
And the source highlights how it can really improve your focus and how the act of ticking things off can actually motivate you.
Absolutely.
So how does something so basic actually give us that motivational boost?
So when you make a to-do list, you're giving yourself a roadmap for the day.
Okay.
It helps organize your thoughts,
Right.
prioritize your tasks, and break down big goals into smaller steps, which can make everything feel less overwhelming.
Right.
The act of crossing things off that list releases dopamine in the brain, which creates this positive feedback loop. So it's a sense of progress and accomplishment, even with small tasks, that keeps you motivated to keep going.
I like that.
It's like you're building momentum throughout the day.
It is.
With each little thing that you check off.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
So let's talk about mindfulness and meditation, which is tip number 10.
Right.
The source describes this as a way to activate our parasympathetic nervous system for deep relaxation and feeling refreshed.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people out there are probably thinking,
I know.
meditation sounds a little daunting.
Yeah.
So can you explain how even a short practice in the morning can really help us feel more motivated?
Yeah, so even just a few minutes of mindfulness or meditation can make a huge difference.
Okay.
It helps quiet those racing thoughts, reduce stress, and increase self-awareness.
Okay.
When you focus on your breath or do a guided meditation, you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system, which is that rest and digest response. So it counteracts the stress response.
And you start your day with more clarity and focus instead of that stress and mental clutter from the day before.
That sounds great.
Yeah, a calmer mind is often a more motivated mind.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about exercise. We talked about getting enough sleep.
Right.
Tip number 11 actually circles back to sleep.
Okay.
And it recommends aiming for around 7.5 hours.
Yeah.
The source mentions Dr. Michael Burrows' suggestion of 5 90-minute sleep cycles. The source mentions more information is available on sleep deprivation.
Okay.
But we don't really have it here.
Right.
What's the core message here when it comes to morning motivation?
The core message is that getting enough sleep is the foundation for feeling energized and motivated.
Okay.
If you're constantly sleep deprived, you're not going to feel your best.
Right.
It's an uphill battle to be motivated and focused.
Yeah.
So getting those 7.5 hours allows your body to recover, and it gives you the resources to tackle the day with enthusiasm.
That makes total sense. All right, so tip number 12 talks about breaking up the monotony of your morning routine by incorporating something different.
Interesting.
So like taking a new route to work or trying a new cafe.
I like that.
How does that element of novelty help boost our motivation?
Our brains are naturally drawn to new experiences.
Okay.
Novelty triggers the release of dopamine.
Oh, there it is again.
There it is again,
Okay.
which is connected to pleasure, motivation, and learning.
Right.
So by introducing small changes into your routine, you can kind of shake things up and combat that feeling of predictability that can lead to feeling less motivated.
Right.
It doesn't have to be anything major.
Right.
Like just listening to a new podcast or trying a new type of coffee can reignite that curiosity and help you feel more engaged.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's like giving your brain a little surprise.
Keep it guessing.
Exactly. Okay, so tip number 13 is a classic.
Right.
Make your bed.
Yes.
The source suggests that it gives you an immediate sense of accomplishment, and it can encourage you to complete more tasks throughout the day.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems so simple.
I know.
Is there really a psychological power behind that?
There really is.
Okay.
It's a small, quick, and easy task, but it gives you a sense of control and competence.
Yeah.
It's like that first accomplishment of the day.
Right.
And it sets a positive tone for everything else you have to do.
It's like priming the pump
It is.
for productivity.
Totally.
Okay, so tip number 14 brings in the idea of using a morning mantra or a motivational quote.
Oh, I love this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the source suggests saying it out loud or even to yourself to start the day with encouragement.
Yeah.
How can positive self-talk actually affect our motivation?
Our thoughts have a huge impact on our emotions and behaviors.
Okay.
By choosing to focus on positive affirmations or motivational quotes,
Right.
you're training your mind to be more optimistic and proactive. And this can really counteract those negative thoughts that we all have sometimes.
Simply.
It builds self-confidence and resilience, which helps you approach challenges with enthusiasm.
I like that.
Yeah.
And, I've definitely felt the power
I have too.
of, reading an inspiring quote at the right time.
Absolutely.
It can totally shift your mindset.
For sure.
Okay, so the final tip.
Okay.
Tip number 15.
Right.
Emphasizes the benefit of making plans with other people in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
So things like meeting a friend for breakfast.
Right.
Or walking to work with a colleague.
Love that.
How does that social interaction help us get going in the morning?
When you have plans with someone else, you're more likely to actually get out of bed.
Right.
And stick to your schedule.
Yeah, because you don't want to let them down.
Exactly. It's accountability.
Right.
Plus, it's just nice to connect with someone and have a positive interaction. It can boost your mood and energy.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's like a little reward to look forward to.
Well, it is a great way to start the day.
Yeah. So looking back at all these tips, I'm seeing some pretty clear themes.
Okay.
We talked about taking care of our physical well-being with things like sleep, exercise, hydration, and nutrition. And then we talked about the importance of our mental state.
Right.
Things like mindfulness and positive self-talk.
Yeah.
And then even things like our environment, getting that light.
That's right.
And even our social connections.
It's all connected.
It's really all connected, isn't it?
It really is.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So I think for our listeners out there, thinking about their own morning routine, what would you say is the one thing that they should really take away?
I would say try incorporating even just one or two of these suggestions into your morning routine and see how it makes you feel.
Right.
You might be surprised at how much of a difference it can make.
Yeah.
And then think about what other parts of your life could benefit from this kind of approach.
Yeah.
Really think about your motivation and well-being and how you can make small changes to improve them.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a really fantastic deep dive.
It has.
I always learn so much from these conversations.
Me too.
So, as always, thank you to our amazing listeners.
Yes.
For sending in your tips.
We love hearing from you.
And we'll be back next week for another deep dive.
All right. See you then. Bye.
Bye.